quiet peaks of a restless heart, to the island breeze where the warm dreams start. I left behind the cold and gray to find a brighter, warmer way. In crowded streets and sunset skies, in smiles that speak without disguise, I found a voice, I found a name, and nothing ever felt the same.
Hello and mabuhay, dear listeners, and welcome to the very first episode of From the Alps to the Islands, the podcast where I share my journey from Austria to the Philippines, not just as a traveler, but as a husband, a dreamer, and someone looking for a better life. My name is Chris K, and I'm an Austrian guy who found something unexpected in the most beautiful and chaotic place: love, life, and challenges in the Philippines. In this first episode, I want to tell you how I met my Filipina wife. It started online, like many stories do today, but what followed was more than just a romantic adventure. It was a journey through cultures, language barriers, long distance struggles, visa paperwork, and moments of joy and doubt. I'll also talk about what made me look outside of Austria. Life here can be cold, not just the weather, but also in spirit. There's stress, high costs, and sometimes you feel like just a number. I wanted something different, more meaningful. In this upcoming podcast, I'll share real stories about what it takes to come to the Philippines, what kind of visa you need, what to expect when you travel, the food you'll fall in love with, the chaos of the traffic, the kindness of the people, and yes, how to live on a budget, build a future, or just breathe a little easier. I'm also a diver, so we'll talk about the underwater magic of this place too: scuba diving, hidden gems, and why the ocean here might be the most healing thing I've ever experienced. So, if you're someone thinking about moving, traveling, or falling in love abroad, or you just want to understand another way of living, this podcast is for you. Hit subscribe and join me on this honest, sometimes funny, sometimes deep journey between two worlds, Austria and the Philippines. I'm happy you're here. Next episode, I'll share the raw reality of the first time I visited the Philippines, the smells, the smiles, the surprises, and the first time I met my future wife in real life. Until then, salamat and see you soon. I wanted to tell you a story, a personal one, a story about how I met my now wife. But to really understand it, I need to take you on a journey into my past. Let's rewind a bit. I grew up in Austria, and like many teenagers, I had my first experiences with love during school. My very first girlfriend was a sweet girl originally from Poland. Blonde hair, gentle smile. She wasn't fancy, but she was beautiful in her own natural way. We met in school, and she became my first love. But like many first loves, it didn't last. We went separate ways, and I think many people can relate to that. After that, I didn't have much luck with relationships. I was mostly alone, and I focused on work and on my biggest passion, scuba diving. Diving became my escape, my obsession. It started when I was still a child. There's something about putting your head underwater, hearing only your own breath, and disappearing into another world. I still carry that passion with me today. But life wasn't always smooth. When I was around 12, my mother got sick. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Her condition got worse over the years until she ended up in a wheelchair. I remember one specific moment clearly. I had just come back from a 1 week school ski trip, happy, tired, full of stories to share, and I was expecting both of my parents to pick me up. But only my father came. My mother had suffered her first major episode and was rushed to the hospital. That was one of my first real emotional shocks. From then on, things were tough at home. As the strong young son, I often had to help take care of her. It was a lot for a teenager and it left deep marks. Years went by. I had a few relationships, but nothing serious. And then, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I met someone who I thought might be the one. She was Hungarian, tall, blonde, with blue eyes. To me, she was beautiful, sweet, cool, and we seemed to share the same interests. I fell in love. Oh man, did I fall hard. But this one came with a twist. She turned out to be a scammer, a marriage scammer. She was already married, had a child, and had lied to me about everything. Her job, her life, her background, nothing was real. The relationship lasted almost 3 years, but it was built on lies. At the end, I was heartbroken. I had lost a lot of money, but worse, I had lost myself for a while. To be fair, during that time, I started improving myself. I trained harder, I became more disciplined, but still, it ended in pain. One day she just disappeared, ghosted me, sent me a cold message like, I'm working far away in a chocolate factory now, I don't have time to see you, please don't contact me anymore. That was it. I was devastated. The months after that were dark. I started drinking, first just once a week, then twice. Eventually, it became a daily thing, mostly whiskey and Red Bull. Not the healthiest choice, but it numbed the pain for a while. But you know what? This is not where the story ends, because sometimes after the biggest storms comes the most unexpected sunshine. To be continued. Continued. The journey to love from heartbreak to healing. I said it before. Sometimes after the biggest storms, the most unexpected sunshine finds you. That moment came for me when I least expected it. It was 2020. The pandemic had started, and life all over the world was strange. Isolated, disconnected. I had mostly healed from the emotional mess of the past, but I was still a bit lost, still searching. One day I was scrolling through Facebook, half bored, half curious. I was part of a few groups about the Philippines, diving, travel. I had always loved the idea of the Philippines, tropical islands, friendly people, good food, and I had already planned to visit someday. And then I saw her. Her profile photo caught my attention immediately. She looked so warm, so natural, not like those heavily filtered, attention seeking profiles I had seen too often. She had something simple and real in her smile, so I sent her a friend request. To my surprise, she accepted. We started chatting. At first, just casual stuff. Where are you from? What do you do? Do you like the sea? But something about her made me want to write more. She was funny, direct, a little shy, but also sharp. Not just another hello Poe conversation. We started writing every day. Every morning when I woke up, I was excited to see her messages. It felt good, really good. After a while, we started having video calls, and I'll be honest, I was nervous before the first one. What if she wasn't the person from the photos? What if it felt awkward? But the moment she appeared on screen, I felt calm. She smiled, genuinely, no pretending, no games. We talked for hours. From that point on, it was clear. This wasn't just some random online flirt. We had something. We talked every day. We shared stories, laughs, even struggles. I told her about my past, about the heartbreak, the drinking, the loneliness, and instead of running away, she listened, really listened. She didn't judge me. She just said, Thank you for telling me. That means you trust me. That moment melted me. After a few months, I knew I had to go to the Philippines. But of course, COVID restrictions. It wasn't easy. But I waited, watched the news, and planned. The moment it became possible, I booked the flight. And then, finally, I stood at the airport in Manila, heart pounding, sweat on my palms, butterflies like a schoolboy on his first date. I waited for her, and then I saw her. She walked toward me, smiling that same smile I had seen on video, but now in real life. And in that moment, I knew she wasn't just my girlfriend, she was home.
From the snow-capped peaks of a restless heart.
Wait, that's not all, not the full truth, so get into it. I said it before. Sometimes, after the biggest storms, the most unexpected sunshine finds you. But let's rewind a little, because before I met her, the woman I would later marry, there was another beginning. And I want to tell the whole truth. You see, during that difficult time in my life, after my last relationship had ended and I was still processing everything, my mother was sick. She had multiple sclerosis and had been living in a wheelchair for quite some time. From time to time, more and more frequently actually, she had to go to the hospital. And during one of those hospital stays, something unexpected happened. There was a nurse taking care of her. Her name was Alice, a kind, warm hearted Filipina woman who had been living and working in Austria for many years. She and my mother became friends. They laughed, talked, spent time together. And one day, my mother, like any classic mom, said, "You know, my son, he has no woman." Laughs. And Alice, being a proper tita, replied, "You know, I have a niece. She has no man." And so they tried to connect us. It was the first time I ever came into contact with a Filipina woman in a romantic way. I reached out to her on Facebook, she wrote back, and just like that, we started an online relationship. It was a long distance one. We had never met. At first, she was in the Philippines, then later, she went to Dubai to work. We chatted every day. But I had that feeling, you know, the one, that something's off feeling deep inside. She wasn't the right person. I felt it. But I was alone. I wanted to give it a chance. So we continued, even though we had never met in person. And then COVID hit. The world stopped, flights were canceled, countries locked down. I was stuck in Austria, she was in Dubai. We continued to talk daily, trying to keep the connection alive. But in the end, the truth came out. She cheated on me, she lied. It was a long and painful process, but finally I said, enough is enough. This is over. And now we come back to the moment I told you earlier. I was sitting in the waiting room of a car repair shop. My car had broken down. I was scrolling on my phone thinking, you know what? Maybe I should try social media again, just one more time. And so I signed up on Filipina Cupid. Yeah, that classic dating site. And believe it or not, on the first day, I had 3 interesting contacts, 3 real conversations, and one of them stood out. She was warm, natural, sweet, no fake glamour, just real, honest. Her smile had that kind of light that makes you feel like things are going to be okay. And then a few days later, I saw her on Facebook too. We added each other, started chatting more and more every day, and it felt different. It felt right. We did video calls. We talked about everything: family, life, hopes, heartbreaks. I told her my story about the failed relationships, about my mom, about how tired I was of games. She didn't run, she didn't judge. I knew then this wasn't just another online fling, this was something else. We started calling each other Mahal. We talked about meeting in real life. I began dreaming again, hoping again, and finally, after waiting through the pandemic, through lockdowns and restrictions, I booked my ticket. I flew to the Philippines, heart racing, hands sweating. I stood at the airport scanning the crowd, and then there she was, walking toward me, smiling that smile, and I knew this is home.